All right, today we're going to take a look at a camera that can be used to do, like cutscenes or, kind of give the player a clue of what they're supposed to do, a little cinematic feel for the beginning of the map. So we're going to do several variations on the usage of this camera. We're going to start today with just a really simple pan or kind of loop around an object that the camera is going to look at. And then once the camera is done with its loop, it's going to return control back over to the player. So first, let's go ahead and run through this so you can see what it's going to look like, and then we'll talk about the pieces to it. There's not very many. They just have to be configured properly. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to compile my map. All right, and I'll go ahead and reload. So when I reload, what you're going to see initially is the camera is going to take control of the player's view. So I'm not even going to get to look through the player's eyes because I'm going to have this camera kick off on spawn. In later iterations of this lesson, we're going to go through and have the camera take over at different time points. But for now, we're actually going to freeze the player and switch the player's view to the camera on spawn, show the player the goal that we want them to achieve, and then we're going to return control back over to the player. So I'm going to load my map. So now we're looking through the camera, and it's going to come around the corner, and there's the antlion. Now I went ahead and had the camera gain some altitude here, so it should start to go up a little bit, and we're going to pan around this monster. Now one thing you're going to have to be careful of is the camera speed and the rotation of the camera. We can adjust the speed, but the rotation of the camera itself, how fast it looks at the object you tell it to. In Half-Life 2, we're not able to adjust that the way we can in games after Portal 2. But you'll see we get to the end, and we're back to player control. All right, so let's take a look at how I made that. Alright, so the first thing I want you to do is, this is a lot easier on a clean open map. So what we're going to do is, I want you to create a new map, File, New, take your block tool, and go ahead and draw me out a box at the center of the world. These are perfectly fine dimensions, 1024 by 1024. I'm going to go ahead and raise it up a little bit. All right, and then good practice, remember I'm going to cover this thing with no draw, so I'm going to go ahead and put no draw into my texture tool here, and then when I press enter, it's going to create that box for me. There it is, all covered with no draw. Now let's go ahead and turn that box hollow, since we're just making a little demonstration box here. So I'm going to select it, right click on it, make hollow, and we're going to use -8 for the thickness of the walls. Click OK. Now let's go inside the box. Looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some sky. So I'm going to take my toggle texture application tool here, browse, skybox, go all the way to the bottom, and remember we use this one here. Once I have it on the tool, I can just right click and it's going to apply it. For the ground, pick whatever you want. I'm going to do a dirt, and I think I'll do this one. Same thing, select it, right click, there we go, close that tool. Alright, let's put a player start in the corner somewhere. So I'm going to go to my entity tool, info, player start, and we'll drop the player into the corner. And then for the sake of the lesson, I want to go ahead and shield the player from what they're about to see. So we're kind of simulating the player is somewhere, and we're flying the camera over to show them the objective that we want them to get to. So we're going to take our block tool and go ahead and just make some really simple walls. Nothing crazy, just make sure the player can't see over them. And I'll go ahead and cover those with brick. I'll use this one. Press enter. All right, there's a wall. And then let's put another wall just to make it a little bit harder for the player to see out of this. So I'm going to shift, click, drag, release the mouse. That makes my copy. I can use my transform tool, rotate it 90 degrees, and then I'll drag this over here. There we go. Now it doesn't matter that this sticks out, it's just a brush. So brushes obviously can stick out into the void because the skybox is a brush. So this is perfectly fine. We've got this little doorway here for the player. So this is how I want you to start the beginning of this. I want a little skybox, ground, sky, a couple of walls, and a player start. All right? So pause the video if you need to. Make that, and then I'm going to switch back to the other map and pick up from there. All right, so here we go. I've got my box, ground, player start. So for my object, the camera, having an object for the camera to look at allows it to rotate as it flies through the path. Otherwise, the camera is going to keep its original orientation, which would be fine if you just want it to look straight ahead. But we can give the camera a target to look at, and as the camera flies along the path, it will rotate to keep that object in view. And then, like I said, the rotation of the camera is not super fast, and so we do have to kind of work with the movement of the camera to keep what we're looking at in our field of view. And for today, we're just going to do a simple loop around an object. All right, so I chose an NPC. This is an NPC antlion. So I clicked here. I went to NPC antlion. This guy here. I went ahead and dropped him in. The circle you see is his sight and hearing radius. It's what he can see and sense with his bug senses. So I went ahead and dropped him here away from the player. And then I named him. So I double clicked on my antlion, I went to name, and I named it antlion target. Under the flags, go ahead and check wait till seen. This way he won't try to run around the map or anything. We want him to stay still for the camera. Apply, and close up those settings. All right. Now, over here where the player's at, I want you to take your entity tool, and I want you to drop in this guy right here. This is called a point view control. It looks like kind of an old-timey camera. Okay, so we're going to go entity tool. Over here, you're going to type in point view control. This thing right here. It's going to give you this camera. All right. And then from the camera, once you drop it in, it'll be on the ground. So I went ahead and put the camera, right about the height of the player's head. Just so it's not lifting off the ground. It just seemed better to have it about the same height as the player's head, and position it wherever you want. But go ahead and put it behind the barricade, because we're going to fly it out from around the barricade and circle around the antlion. Right? Once you get the camera placed, double click it. We're going to name it. So I named mine ViewCam1. The entity to look at. This is the name of the antlion that we placed. So if you want to, you can take this little eyedropper icon and you can fly over to the antlion and you can click on it. And that'll fill in the name for you. Under initial speed, go ahead and just match these up. This is the speed that the camera is going to start moving at. The acceleration, this is how fast it accelerates if there are speed changes in the path corners. So how hard does it accelerate if there are any speed changes, up or down? So the higher this number is, the more quickly it will accelerate to match any changes we tell it to. And then same thing with the stop. I just have it slowing down slower than I have it speeding up. Go ahead and apply those settings. We'll come back to the path corner. Okay, so leave that for now. Under flags, we're going to check freeze player and infinite hold time. So freeze player tells the game to ignore any inputs from the player, from the mouse, keyboard, anything like that. Infinite hold time tells it that we are going to enable and disable the camera on our own, and we're not going to use the built-in timer on the camera. On the main page here, you'll see there's a hold time of 10 seconds. That's the default. If you don't check this box, the camera will kick off at 10 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and check infinite hold time. That way we can control the start and the stop of the camera. Go ahead and click apply. Close that up. All right, now the camera uses good old trusty path corners. Okay, these guys right here. You may remember these back from when we did NPCs and we made them walk around. So what I want you to do is go to your entity tool, grab a path corner, this thing here, and I want you to drop a path corner in front of the camera. Right, so you can see where mine's at. There's my camera, my path corner is right here. So the camera is going to spawn at this location and it's going to head to this path corner. Once it gets on the path corner, then the path corners are going to take over its movement and direct it where to go. All right, so we're going to put the path corner in front of this camera. Go ahead and open the path corner. So once you drop the path corner, and I've got mine set about the same height as the camera. Open it up. I want you to name it. Path corner 1. Ignore the next stop target. It'll do it for you. It'll fill this part in automatically, all right? The new train speed. I put 50, so that I'm going to slow the camera down a little bit once it comes around the corner. The train rotation speed, I put this ridiculously high to show you that it has no effect on the rotation of the actual camera. So there's no effect by changing this. It doesn't make the camera rotate faster. The camera is not a train, so it's not going to spin and rotate or anything like that. Okay? All right, so I named it Path Corner 1. I put the new train speed to 50. Where it says next stop target, just leave that blank. Click apply. Now what you're going to do is you're going to copy or duplicate using the shift click drag, and the engine will automatically rename each one of these as Path Track 2, Path Track 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so once you create this first path corner, okay, I named it Path Corner 1, and I said leave next stop target, leave it blank. All right, then what you're going to do is you're going to come in here, you're going to hold down shift, you're going to click on the path corner, hold the mouse down, and you're going to drag. You're going to release the mouse, then release shift. That will create your second path corner. So let me demonstrate it here on the end. Okay, so this here is my path corner. I'm going to shift, click, drag, release the mouse, release, shift. And you'll notice that this here is path corner 8, and it automatically named this one to path corner 9. If I do it again, shift, click, drag, this is now path corner 10, this is 9, 8, and they're all connected. See the lines between them? And it also sequences them. So if we look at this, if I open this one up, the path corner 3 automatically got filled in when I created path corner 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right? So you're going to shift from this view, shift, click, drag, release the mouse, release, shift. And the engine will automatically name it and tell it the name of its next stop target. So I want you to create a circle that goes around the ant line. Right? You can use 8 or 9, 10, however many you want to use. Once you've done that, let's go back to the camera. On the camera, you're going to see a setting that says path corner. Type in the name of your first path corner 1. And again, you can use the dropper, and then you can come over here and click on the first path corner, and it will automatically fill this in for you. Okay? You can use the dropper, select the path corner, and it will automatically fill it in. Click apply. Right. There's path corner 1. I may have accidentally created more than one path corner there. That's all right. I know it works. All right, so we've got our camera set up. We've got our path corners that go all the way around. Now we need something to start it. If you run it right now, nothing's going to happen. The camera is just going to sit there and you're going to be looking through the eyes of the player. So we need to start the whole process. So for that, we're going to use an entity called a Logic Auto. So we're going to go to our entity tool, come over here, type in logic _ auto, and you're going to drop this guy in right here. Okay, Logic Auto. There's really nothing to do here other than you're going to go to your output. And I think I renamed my camera. Hang on one second. There we go. Okay, so my Logic Auto, there's really nothing to set here, but under the output, we're going to click Add, On Map Spawn. The target entity is the ViewCam1, this camera right here, and we're going to enable it. So all the Logic Auto does is when the game starts, the Logic Auto fires. That's its purpose in the world. So On Map Spawn, ViewCam1, enable. That's going to turn on the camera. Click Apply. Now, if you remember, the camera freezes the player. So what's going to happen is the game starts, the Logic Auto enables the camera freezes the player, and then the camera travels over to its path corner. This path corner says to go to this one says to go to this one, and this one, and this one. And all the while, the camera is being told to look at this antlion. So the camera is going to fly along the path, and we're going to get to the very end. And at the end, I want to give control back to the player. So I need to disable the camera once I get to the very end of the path track. I have to turn off the camera. So I want you to go to your final path corner. You're going to go all the way to your final path corner. Open it up. It should have no next stop because this is the last one. Under outputs, we're going to say add, on pass, the target entity is the camera, and the input is disable. So what that means is that when the camera is following this line, when the camera comes to this path corner, view cam 1 hits here, on pass, it's going to disable view cam 1. Click apply. And then hopefully I didn't break it going through all the settings, but I'll go ahead and compile it. We should be good to go. Okay, so the camera took over. You can see the camera is turning to face the antlion, and it's going to circle around him. They're fairly noisy. This is very tense. Now obviously you don't have to fly around a solitary antlion. This could be a battle happening. You know, there could be a whole bunch of people fighting. You could have a bunch of Combine guys and citizens fighting it out, and your camera flies around the incident. You could have a car wreck that you're filming. So here we are, we're coming up to path corner 9, and done. Control, if I come out here, he's going to see me and get really angry. All right, that is the point view control camera, really basic way to do a cinematic flyby. So I want you to make one that looks just like mine, and tomorrow we'll play around with additional options, switching tracks, switching targets, those kind of things.